Hey, Vaibhav, Mason. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, okay. Well, why aren't more people turning up to these meetings? I don't know. You guys have to
Uh,
communicate in the student forums. Also, the other thing, so Noah usually turns up to these meetings. Why? Maybe he's late today, right? Also, Mason, by the way, your microphone, when I listen to the recordings, you are barely audible in what you say. So uh, check. Can you say something right now? I'll see if if
can
this
you hear
works.
me?
No, it's actually very dim. Vibe of Jong. Can you guys hear what Mason is saying clearly?
Not
Oh, everything
quite.
is okay with you. You can. Oh, you're wearing headphones. What about Jeong? Can you hear Mason?
Well, not quite. It's like it's murmuring voice. I cannot quite hear clearly.
Yeah. Click if you want to switch
Everything seems to
to a
work
different
fine on
microphone or
my end.
speaker. Oh, that's me. Yeah. Can you switch to? Do you have any options, Mason?
I just have the microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I can hear you, but the volume is better. But it's not. Is there an option on your end to increase the volume at all?
I don't think I've changed anything.
Hmm. Because everybody else seems to be, loud, and only you seem to be low in volume. So I don't know what's going on. Yeah, Noah, welcome. Anyway, so the reason I mentioned that was that, um, um, yeah, I'm actually enjoying looking at these things, and but I had to listen very hard to what Mason was saying most of the times. In fact, it was inaudible to me. So in fact, I this is fantastic. I mean, these are the kinds of things I really want to see, and the things that I think would be very valuable to you, because imagine, if this just spins off, a spin off from here, Noah and Kwan, right, doing the tech talk show on TikTok, right? Tech talk on TikTok, right? If 5-minute clips or 15-minute clips, uh two people talking about, and I would be glad to subscribe to a channel of what is it, Kwan and McKigney, right? Kwan and McKigney's Tech Talk show, right? I because it's 5 or 10 minutes, I'm just going to watch it on a commute or something like that. But you guys, but maybe you're thinking, well, you know what, we're having a chat, maybe it's not all that interesting. Yeah, it's okay, who cares, because it's just practice ground, right? Because it'll slowly start getting interesting without you knowing it. And by the time you're in the C quests, 2C quests, you'll be having some really fantastic discussions, right? You'll be taking some state-of-the-art data structure out there, okay, and maybe looking at a language model, a large language model, and looking at, well, this is the way in which you can actually do dynamic interpolation of multiple large language models in real time. Yeah, it's a major challenge, isn't it? Because you have domain dependence on language model. Yeah, I don't know. When you're doing 2C, maybe we'll do an extra credit project on language modeling. Yeah, because it seems to be everybody is doing language modeling, or it's the scaling out factor of it has gotten much bigger now. So, but all of this was, most of this is routine stuff, and you probably learn it in as you progress in your computer science education. But there's no harm if you're doing 2C and you complete all the quests ahead of time. We could just do a language modeling project. Okay, it's very interesting, and you can do a generative language model too, a simple generative language model, not like a huge one. If you're going to use trillions of parameters, you obviously use lots and lots of storage and computing. But the principle is exactly the same, whether you have, except that the sentences you generate and the context you look at will be smaller as your computing or your bill or your budget dictates. You're going to say, all right, I'm only going to look at this context and this, so you have a very strong domain dependent language model, and that could fit in a single machine. I can show you how to do all these things, okay? Because we've been doing this for a long time. I did this at SRI for a long time, and even before I joined SRI, Andreas Scholke had this language modeling toolkit from ages ago, and modeled on the and CMU guys had their own. So it's an old field, and if you're doing computer science, especially if you're going to be in machine learning or data engineering, natural language processing, all of that, this will come in hugely useful. Okay, just so keep that in mind. Keep on. All of you guys are making good progress. So keep that up. So the thing that I wanted to encourage was these talks. After I disappear in a few minutes, right? Unless you have any questions for me, you guys should just take this opportunity. Maybe even set up a separate time and say, hey, Mason or whoever it is, right? You just put a group together and say, hey, let's do a Zoom, right? And I don't have to be there, right? Unless you invite me, you don't have to. You just have go to a Starbucks or some cafeteria and have a chat, two Zooms on two sides of a coffee table, right? And talk about this interesting problem. You can share, your whiteboard and draw pictures of trees or whatever it is that you want to do, or use your phone. You can come up with creative ways of doing this. In the beginning, maybe only you and your sister and your brother will watch it, but you never know, right? Because without your knowing, you'll start getting more and more interesting, and you'll say, hey, you know what? I got some interesting feedback from my girlfriend, right? And she said, maybe we should try this. So you do all these minor changes without you knowing, and each along the way improves, right? And that's how I know there are a few tech talk shows, but I think you guys probably have it in you because you're generating ideas, and ideas don't always have to be correct ideas. Okay, it's really boring to listen to someone who's always saying correct shit. Okay, so you got to say something wrong and then have Noah or someone else contradict it, say, hey, that's not going to work, and say, yes, that's not going to work. Okay, that is a fun enough 10-minute clip that a software engineer would watch, I think, right? Not, you got to come up with obviously you come up with interesting ways of doing this thing, right? Like an XKCD comic is instructional, but at the same time it's fun. See, that's really cool. And so those are the things this is your opportunity to do it. Yeah. I'm going to be teaching next year probably, but I'm very close to retiring. So these ideas, you do these things, and I'll continue to watch you as students, right? On my TikTok feed forever, things like that. Okay. These things will also take off and happen in the virtual world, virtual world in 3D, and with these, the goggles and things like that. So you would actually enter a room with two of you guys standing there, okay, and you're having a technical discussion, and then you have the software to actually react to what someone who wanders into that room says. Think about it. It's technically possible to do today. Yes, because you can have, if you have one of those Apple things, right, or the Oculus, right, Oculus, and you can create a room, and you can accept a person into that room because you have like multiplayer games. And for all practical purposes, and in fact, the two of you could be NPCs, NPC avatars of you guys too, right? Playing out a pre-recorded conversation between you two, but at the same time receptive to what the person who came in says, because you can recognize that in real time using speech services. So you can recognize that, get the word tokens, and then you can use the language model to respond appropriately too. So you have automata in that room discussing a topic very domain constrained, which gives you a lot of power because your language model doesn't have to be big. Yeah, you're having a conversation and someone walks into the room and says, hey, you know what, why are you using these weights that don't sum to one? Right? Okay, easily that is recognized, and you can actually pick that up and respond appropriately to because you'll have all of that information, and you'll be talking about these things, right? Those are the kinds of things you'll be up in the front of the race creating these things when people are just coming up with the technology for that. By doing these talk shows and collaborating with your friends, doing these things, you're basically setting up the stage so that when that happens, you already have everything there. You just need to port it there, bam, like that. And you have a product ready to go, right? Not really a product, but it'll be a nice way for you to, share what because ultimately that's what you want to do, right? Because you would have amassed a certain number of skills, and you're going to think that all of this is going to be, wasted, after I die, unless someone else knows this also. Yeah. And so you're going to, at some point, you're going to say, I'm going to have to make sure that, this is passed down to as many people as I know. So this is all useful skills for that, I think. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so I didn't want to take up much more of your time because this is supposed to be your time, and carry on these discussions. Just make sure your volumes are all up. And Vaibhav, you should also, take part and encourage all of your other classmates, right, on Discord and all these other channels that you guys are on. Encourage them to come to these meetings, and they should be taking part and and doing these things because 2B, 2C, I think I may not even offer these, in preference of 2A maybe. Because at Foothill there's not a great deal of students who are coming into these classes right now, or at least to my section maybe, right? So, but if the enrollment keeps going down, not keeps going down, it's actually better today, but this quarter. But if it's not high enough, we won't run this class. So take the opportunity while we have the class and all of these facilities. And I'm happy to help you with these things too, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be directly connected to 2B, but if you're remotely connected to 2B and you want to do a tech talk show, right? And you say, hey, you know what, we met and we have some ideas, want to run past you, or we want some equipment to rent and some money. Yeah, all of that is fair game. You just ask me, okay? If you have a really solid case and you want to do something cool, I'm happy to help you reach that goal, okay? So I don't need to be credited or anything, but you'll have a great time getting there, and then feeling that, well, you know what, I've gotten here. Some of the other guys who I've seen in 2A or other people, they should also get here too, right? And you come back and say, hey, I want to help those people, because it's a great feeling that you will also feel. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. If you don't have any questions for me, there's one in chat. Is it? All right. We usually get a few people coming late. Right. Well, maybe that's what it is. All right. So these the four people I see here, I've seen you at most of these meetings. Okay. So but there are other people. Of course, it's an online course, but still, they should. I don't see other meetings. I'm going to take off. If you guys don't want to, this is being recorded because there's a record button for me. But did you get a note saying this is being recorded when you logged in?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
maybe
did.
it's being recorded in the cloud.
Yeah.
Because for me, it doesn't show it's recorded. All right. So can I take off? All right. See you guys
I have
later.
one
And if you have any
question.
questions for me, just let me know, okay? Noah, you got a question?
Yeah, is the final going to be covering all the material we did in the first 6 weeks as well?
For the final? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's obviously going to involve material you learned in the first 6 weeks, but it's not going to be focused on it. But you can't ask some of the questions in the second half of the course without assuming the knowledge of the first half, right? So sometimes we will,
Yeah.
if you want to ask about polymorphism, was polymorphism in the first half of the class or second? No, I think it's octopus, right? Octopus is the second half, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So if I want to ask about polymorphism, maybe and destructors, I'll probably have a question there to do with recursive destructors, right? And that's in quest number 1 even. Yeah. And I saw a couple of really nice discussions on the Reddit on someone asked, why should we not have recursive destructors? And someone had a very nice answer to it too. I'm sorry, Noah.
Yeah. I think you answered my question. Thank you.
Oh, I answered. Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. All right. So best of luck, guys, and maybe I'll see you in next week or the week after. But just stay dry as the rain's coming our way. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So how's everyone doing with questing?
I finished I think the quest 7, and there's nothing like nothing. But I'm currently working on quest 8, and quest 7 I think is pretty straightforward. And
Yeah, I also found quest 7 pretty straightforward. So spec basically just tells you what you need to code, and then you just do it.
Yep, and I think but I'm kind of just start the quest A, so I'm kind of like just have nothing to say about that because I just started. Yeah.
I also started reading the spec, and I find it interesting how the tree data structure in Quest 8 uses the kind of edges or like the labels for each node to store the data instead of actually storing the data in a node. And then all we check for is the existence of a child node in order to see if we have something stored with that value.
Is this the last quest?
Quest 8.
No, I think we still have quest 9 in the like before the final 9 quest. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just checked the syllabus.
Well, yeah, this quest
Tardigrade? Tardigrade quest 6 or 7?
tardigrade was Quest 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I feel like this quest will be pretty interesting since we're also not only are we like storing our data in a different structure than we've worked with before, it's also a form of compression because we're basically not storing duplicate entries for like shared prefixes. Like, for example, if I had two words, predict and prefix, then if we stored it in our tree, the P, R, and E would be the same nodes. And so we kind of save memory.
Yeah, the way it's the way you traverse it and they store the characters, they both utilize the prefixing characters. I found this quest to be the hardest. Does anyone have any questions about the tardigrade quest?
No, not really. I think I understand the data structure, so it's just a matter of implementing it.
Um, does anyone have anything else they would like to share?
I think for me it's no because like I'm just like struggling about quest 8 and just reading the quest notes. Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll see each other next week.
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.